A very proud woman, but quite flamboyant and witty with it. In fact, all the things which one finds in Oscar later on.
It is only tradespeople who are respectable. We are above respectability.
Oscar's intellectual brilliance almost certainly came from his father, Sir William. He was an outstanding ear and eye surgeon in Dublin at the time. A sort of father of modern medicine, really. But he wasn't without his faults, and the lure of the petticoat sometimes proved to be too strong.
Oscar had seen his mother bravely, stoically, living in a marriage where her husband chose other women for sexual delectation, and where, of course, her husband, arriving at the marriage, had illegitimate children already. So you see, convention was hardly a current word in the Wilde household.
Oscar went off to a Protestant boarding school when he was 9, which Speranza liked to call the Eton of Ireland.
I have forgotten all about my school days. I have a vague notion they were detestable.
It's very significant, too, that he should have gone to a school, Portora, where no reference to Ireland whatsoever can be found in the curriculum, which was in total contradiction to his early upbringing and his mother's nationalist sympathies. There's even a suspicion that his mother had him baptized a Catholic when he was quite young. So he had violated the taboos of his entire caste, really, by being involved in his parents' enthusiasm for the folklore of the people of Ireland, possibly if he was made a Catholic at the instance of his mother. And in a sense, that starts him out on a regime throughout his life of defying convention, and of believing, I think, that there is something more worthwhile than seeking to conform very dubious laws as laid down by state authority.
I am one of those who are made for exceptions, not for laws.
While he was at Portora, Oscar seems to have discovered the classics, and within 3 years he'd won himself a scholarship to Trinity Dublin, the Berkeley Gold Medal for Greek while he was there, and another scholarship on to Oxford.
I was the happiest man in the world when entering Magdalen for the first time. Oxford is paradise to me. My Irish accent is one of the things I forgot at Oxford.
When he was at Oxford, Wilde made a great show of not doing any work and of living up to his blue china, adoring his lilies, whatever you like, and pooh-poohed the idea that he could do well. He's going to get a 4th in Greats, he said. But it's quite clear from, for example, his Oxford notebooks, which have been published in a scholarly edition a few years ago, that he was reading extraordinarily widely and really interested in the very latest thought of his day.
The longer one studies life and literature, the more strongly one feels that behind everything that is wonderful stands the individual. I wanted to eat of the fruit of all the trees in the garden of the world, and I was going out into the world with that passion in my soul, and so indeed I went out, and so I lived.
To everyone's surprise, except Oscar's, he got a 1st in his finals, and won the Newdigate Prize for Poetry as well.
Oh, Gloria, Gloria. Thank you a million times for your telegram. It is the first pleasant throb of joy I've had this year. Well, after all, we have a genius. With joy and pride, your loving mother.
My dear old boy, you are the best of fellows to telegraph your congratulations. The Dons are astonished beyond words. The bad boy doing so well in the end.
When Oscar came down from university, he made that famous remark just before coming down, "I'm going to be famous, and if I can't be famous, I shall be notorious." And he was determined that he was going to succeed.
He went up to London calling himself a professor of aesthetics and became a man about town.
And I believe that at that moment he started, I suppose, what we'd call today a PR machine. You can read it through his letters. There's an iron determination to succeed.
If you're anxious for to shine in the high aesthetic line as a man of culture rare, you must get up all the germs of the transcendental terms and plant them everywhere. You must lie upon the daisies and discourse in novel phrases of your complicated state of mind. The meaning doesn't matter if it's only idle chatter of a transcendental kind.
He behaved as a dandy. He behaved in an aesthetic fashion. He was, I suppose, what we'd call today rather camp.
If this young man expresses himself in terms too deep for me, why, what a very singularly deep young man this deep young man must be.
Women are never disarmed by compliments. Men always are. That is the difference between the sexes.
To be around Sarah Bernhardt, to go and fling lilies at Sarah Bernhardt's feet in Dover when she arrived in England was a tremendous publicity stunt.
Dear Harold, I was very sorry you did not come to tea, as I could have introduced you to some very beautiful people. Mrs. Langtry and Lady Lonsdale and a lot of very clever beings who were at tea with me.
He found great empathy with these women. They were successful, they were beautiful, they were in the theatre, and he loved being around them.
And all of this led to the famous lecture tour in America, where Richard D'Oyley Carte of the Gilbert and Sullivan operas more or less hired him to go ahead of the opera Patience to show the Americans what was supposed to be funny in the aesthetic poets satirized in Patience. So Wilde, quite consciously, went ahead as an example of the aesthetic idiot and had a lovely time.
Then the sentimental passion of a vegetable fashion must excite your languid spleen. An attachment a la Plato for a